Welcome. For most of history, China was one of the richest and most powerful nations on Earth. Yet by the mid-1800s, it began to suffer defeat after defeat, until foreign soldiers stood inside the Forbidden City itself.
How could a great empire fall so far, so fast?
The answer is the century of humiliation, 100 years of invasion, rebellion, and collapse that still shapes China's identity today. For centuries, China dominated East Asia. But by 1800, that long stability created a dangerous sense of certainty. Meanwhile, the world beyond China was changing rapidly. Europe had entered the industrial age, building machines, ships, and weapons the Qing court had never seen. Confident in its greatness, China stayed isolated, unaware that global power was shifting. Europe's hunger for Chinese tea, silk, and porcelain kept growing, but China did not want their goods. Britain wanted tea badly, but it was paying for it only in silver, so silver drained out of Britain into China. Their solution was to sell opium. When British traders flooded southern China with opium, addiction spread quickly and communities suffered. One man stepped forward, Zexu. Lin, a principled scholar official, saw opium as both a threat and a human tragedy. He acted boldly, seizing and destroying massive stores of the drug. To many Chinese today, Lin Zexu stands as a hero who tried to protect his country and its people. Britain answered with war. Its modern navy crushed China's outdated forces. The Treaty of Nanjing forced China to open ports, pay huge fines, and surrender Hong Kong. It was a moment of deep humiliation, the first major blow of the century. China had barely recovered before Britain and France invaded again in 1856. Armies marched straight toward Beijing. Inside the Forbidden City, the young Xianfeng emperor and his consort Cixi faced panic and confusion. The Qing court had never imagined foreign troops reaching the capital. Xianfeng fled. He would never return. Then came the moment that echoes in Chinese memory. British and French soldiers entered the Yuan, the Summer Palace, one of China's greatest cultural sites, filled with priceless treasures. Rather than preserve it, they looted it and burned it to the ground. The news devastated Emperor Xianfeng, who died next year. Cixi never forgot this destruction. To many Chinese, it was a deep humiliation, proof the Qing could no longer control China's fate. Then came disaster from within in the 1850s. The Taiping Rebellion erupted, one of the deadliest conflicts in history. Millions died, and the dynasty nearly collapsed. Struggling to defeat the rebels, the Qing turned to a new idea: to train troops with Western methods. Li Hongzhang recruited foreign officers, most famously Charles Gordon, to drill a disciplined modern force. It was only a small beginning, but it marked the start of China's military modernization. By the 1890s, Japan had transformed through rapid modernization. When war broke out over Korea in 1894, China expected victory, but Japan's modern forces won decisively. China was forced to agree to Korean independence, surrender Taiwan, and recognize Japan as a rising power. For many Chinese thinkers, it was a breaking point. If China could not defeat a nation that had once learned from Chinese civilization, then deep change was urgently needed. By the early 1900s, the Qing dynasty existed in name only. Defeat, rebellion, and foreign pressure had drained its strength. Then, in 1900, the Boxer Rebellion exploded. a desperate, chaotic anti-foreign uprising that drew 8 foreign armies into Beijing. The Qing court fled, and China had to pay crushing indemnities that broke the dynasty's last remaining power. When both the Emperor Guangxu and Empress Dowager Cixi died in 1908, the throne passed to a 2-year-old boy, Puyi, a sign of just how weak the dynasty had become. In 1911, the Wuchang Uprising triggered a nationwide revolution. In 1912, the last emperor abdicated. More than 2,000 years of imperial rule were over. But unity did not follow. China fractured under regional warlords, just as danger was rising across the sea. Japan seized Manchuria in 1931, and by 1937 full-scale war erupted. Japan captured major cities as a divided China struggled to resist. Millions fled, and the suffering was immense. But China fought on until Japan's defeat in 1945. China survived the war, but the victory left the country shattered, and another struggle was about to begin. After World War II, the conflict between nationalists and communists erupted into full civil war, each claiming to fight for China's future. After 4 years, communist forces gained control. On October 1, 1949, Mao Zedong declared the founding of the People's Republic of China. For millions of Chinese, it meant one thing above all: the century of humiliation was finally over. For the first time in 100 years, China stood united, determined not to be dominated by outsiders or torn apart from within. This history still shapes how China sees the world, strengthening China's belief in unity and self-reliance, and determined never to repeat the past. To understand the China of today, you must understand the century that nearly broke it. What do you think? How does this history shape China's actions today? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more history and culture from Asia, and click the bell for future episodes.